How to produce THC from cannabis plant, or trihydrocannabinol is the main psychoactive ingredient in cannabis. Was first isolated in 1964, in its pure form, by Israeli chemists Raphael Mechoulam, Yechiel Ingenious and colleagues at the Weizmann Institute of Science, at the time part of the Hebrew University in Jerusalem. When it is cold, glassy solid, when heated becomes sticky, viscous. When he created a synthetic form is called officially by dronabinol. It is available by prescription in the United States and Canada under the brand name Marinol. Due to being classified terpenoid aromatic, too, THC has a very low ability to dissolve in water, but a good ability to dissolve in organic solvents, especially oil and coal. Most pharmacologically active secondary metabolic plant, it is assumed that THC cannabis use probably involved in self-defense against herbivorous animals, but still do not know how. THC is known to have the ability to absorb radiation, UVB range 280 to 315 nanometers. Estimated that this feature is able to protect the plant from exposure to harmful UV radiation. Pharmacological activity material known in the scientific community is encouraging secretion. THC-CBD1 receptors are located mainly in the central nervous system. In this article we examine the other components through the process of producing it. How to produce THC from cannabis plant. The discovery of the presence of these receptors in the brain, leading the researchers to detect natural cannabinoids in the body, cannabinoidum, like anandamide and 2-arsenylglycerol. THC acts on receptors in a much less selective molecules cannabinoidum, free signal back to. THC has relatively less efficient and affinity cannabinoid receptors compared cannabinoidum. Populations with low density of cannabinoid receptors, THC may interfere cannabinoidum because their receptors have better efficiency. How to produce THC from cannabis plant. In the cannabis plant, now that we understood a little bit more what is the active ingredient THC, what contributions it makes our body, turn really interesting question, how can produce it? And to answer this question is asked why. Synthesis or production of THC-rich product leads the active substance in the cannabis plant. The reason for this synthesis is primarily medical, due to anti-inflammatory, anti-cancer, etc., of the active ingredients in the cannabis plant. Synthesis or production of the active substance THC cannabis can be dangerous for inexpert hands and therefore should only deal with professional people work. How to produce THC from cannabis plant. In the cannabis plant, and now we turn to the question of questions, how to practice professionals producers THC cannabis. The most successful method of synthesis THC active ingredient in the cannabis plant is a laboratory method, is not she using a spectrophotometer and strawberry ions which breaks down fatty acids THC rest of the material. Research wanted to test whether using ion cannon could isolate THC. Best way to find that this method isolates the material is indeed the best THC, but requires sophisticated laboratory equipment and highly trained professional staff. Review of simpler methods of turning to non-recognized method is heating, whether by means substances like alcohol or by raising the temperature to which exposed the flower of the cannabis plant. How to produce THC from cannabis plant. THC is the psychoactive substance in the cannabis plant type 9, particularly THC. THC nature appears in the form of the cannabis plant. To isolate him from the THC we burn the plant when it is dried. To make to THC we need to use heat. This process is known by its scientific name dicarboxy. How to produce THC from cannabis plant. There are several different methods favored and heating the hemp plant to make him the active substance THC. Among the methods can be found mainly in chemicals and various spirits such as alcohol, botanyl and acetone. One way of heating it is laying the cannabis plant in a container with one of the above materials and give chemistry to do it. Alcohol is one of the ingredients modafinil in producing THC, and it does so that it breaks the bonds of the fatty acids that constitute the active ingredients in the cannabis plant and isolated as the THC container material. Liquidation it actually created as a result of the THC heating plant transformation by the THC and acids. In fact, the process is the process of breaking down fatty acids and fatty acids similar but different functioning. www.youtube.com web link. How to produce THC from cannabis plant. THC produced from this process can reach several forms depending on whether the heating was selected. For example, using alcohol production will yield us THC form of cannabis oil, while heating methods of dry will lead to producing more products similar to hashish or basically to THC in solid form, due to the lack of nearby water molecules in aqueous and existing methods of wet, such as heating with alcohol. Come and let us describe the moment one of the ways to produce THC systematically. We are first going to need things at 1. A glass vessel. 2. A bottle of pure alcohol, 95+%. 3. 20-50 grams of cannabis flowers. 4. A piece of cloth. 5. Electric oven. We mix the alcohol with flowers in the glass and will heat on very low heat until we get the tool in the tool oily solution. It is advisable to explain that to heat the gas ovens of various alcoholic substances,